teacher, Dr. Gregory Williams, is with us today to talk about overcoming the darkness, the roadmap to hope. Gregory is on the senior leadership team at Baylor College of Medicine's OBGYN department located in the Texas Children's Hospital. He has a PhD in counseling and is a well known speaker, teacher, and radio show host. He is also the author of Shattered by the Darkness, Putting the Pieces Back Together After Child Abuse. He travels the country speaking to thousands of people on child abuse, the aftermath of abuse, the detection and recognition of abuse, and the importance of adverse childhood experiences. Welcome back, Gregory.
Hey, it's great to be with you, Ashley. I just love you guys. Avaya University has been just such a wonderful group of people that is not only informed, but they have hearts that just is unbelievable. So I appreciate you. It's great to see you again.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you and I get to interview together. So, will you start us off by sharing a bit about your story and the trauma that you endured?
Sure. I don't know if I've told this story on Avaya completely, but it is so long that I don't want to belabor you. But my entire book, Shattered by the Darkness, is basically my journal of what's happened to me as a child. Now, between me and you and the doorpost, it took me about 35 years at least before I ever told anybody. And I think that was a damaging effect.
Yes.
And basically, from the very beginning of my memory of childhood, I don't remember a day that I wasn't abused by my dad. And I I tried to figure out when it started, and the first recollection of my childhood is Christmas, and I didn't know what Christmas it was, but I just remember it was a Christmas time. I remember it was a Sears catalog. I remember that they have the Christmas catalog back in those days, and there was a little cartoon character of Dennis the Menace on it, and that was my favorite time of the year for any child was Christmas. And I remember they used to mail these catalogs in the mail, and I remember this one that had my favorite cartoon character on it, Dennis the Menace, and I was going through the catalog, doing everything that every child would do, dog ear the pages, circle the pages, come up with your list of what you want Santa Claus to bring and all of that. That was a very special catalog that year because of the cartoon character. And I was going through making the list. And as I was making the list, my father walked in and basically asked me, "Hey, what are you doing, son?" And I said, "Hey, making my list for Santa Claus." And I remember him picking up the catalog, looking at it, throwing it on the floor, and then picking me up, standing me in front of him, and pulling my pajama bottoms down and start abusing me. Now, I didn't know what that was all about at that age.
Yes.
I didn't know how young it was until just a few years ago when I started processing what was going on in my life. So I went to the wonderful internet that we have now and typed in Dennis the Menace Christmas catalog. And there was only one Christmas catalog that was published that had the Dennis the Menace character on it. I punched it and the picture came up on the screen, and it was December 1967. And I immediately went, "Oh my God, I was 4 years old." Four years old when my first recollection. So I'm not saying it didn't happen before that, but I'm saying my first childhood memory that I can actually put a date on was that date. And from that moment in time on, I remember what happened the next day, Christmas Eve of that year, Christmas Day, and then every day of substantial abuse, I remember something happening to me by my dad, sometimes twice a day. And that really messed up my head. But as a 4 year old, a 5 year old, I didn't think I was any different than any other child.
Right.
I remember going to bed in the bedroom. We had two twin beds. My dad was down the hallway with mom. I could listen and hear Here's Johnny. And that show playing, Ed McMahon laughing and all of that. I remember that, and my dad and mom laughing. And then somewhere after that, the TV would shut off, lights would start shutting down, and then the door, the bedroom door would open to their bedroom. It was right across the way. And, and then the smell of smoke coming down the hallway of dad smoking cigarettes. And then the open door, the darkness, the shadow coming into my room, dad looking over at my brother every night to see if he was asleep or not, and then him coming to my side of the bed, of the room, and start manipulating with me and fondling me. And it seemed like every night it was a different way, um, a different part of my body, a different way to abuse me. And that happened every night. Sometimes during the day when school started, my first day in kindergarten, I remember him picking me up after school. The school bus would drop me off at my aunt and uncle's house. Him coming by about 4:30 after work, picking me up, and then even on the way home from my aunt and uncle's house to our house, which was only a couple miles, if that, he would touch me. He would take me by the head and force me to do oral things on him while he was driving. He would take a left turn past the house down to the lake, where there's a public lake down there, sit in the parking lot and wait till I finished satisfying him on the way home. And then we would get home, I'd jump out of the car, and then I'd go into the house. Again, Ashley, it's kind of strange to say it, but I really don't know if that abuse messed with me mentally as much as it did later on. Because I remember in grade school thinking, your dad must do this to you. Every child, every friend, I thought the same.
Yes.
So it really didn't, I don't think, emotionally disturb me as much until probably I was 10, 11, 12, and I started to understand, hey, wait, this is increasing in intensity, increasing in creativity, and increasing in pain. And I knew the pain wasn't right. Anybody knows that when you're hurting, that's not something that ought to be happening.
No.
So I knew that there was something that was out of sync. Never talked to it about anybody. My brother, several nights, I would look over at him while I was being abused, and he was not watching me, but I would look over and he would be looking my way. And then he would roll over when our eyes met and go to sleep. And I think he was just glad he was out of the picture and I was the next one in line. He was 5 years older than me. I had another brother 10 years older than me that had a room down the hall, although he left early, left the home early. But I think when mom finally got a job that took her out of the house 5 days a week, I started realizing that the relationship changed of not just an event, it was an ongoing touching feeling. When I was alone in the house with dad and my brothers finally all left the home and got their own lives, went out and got their jobs in their own houses. I was 10, 11, 12. He would come home from work. The bus would drop me off at the house at that point, and he would start kissing me. He would start touching me. I'd be making a grilled cheese at the stove, and he'd come around and immediately feel me. And then it got to the point where we took, I never took a shower alone. I always took a shower with him. He never took a shower alone. I was always with him. And I was expected to sleep in the same bed with him every night. So I became his wife. his sex toy all the time. And in the book, I talk about a summer that changed my entire life. And without going in, because we only have a few minutes, but without going into great detail, I remember um, a summer night where it was 1974. And during the summer months, we had an in-ground pool, in-ground concrete pool. Nobody in the early 70s had an in-ground concrete pool. We were very elite to be able to have a pool. It wasn't the cheap ones like, you would put up. These were the ones that was like at the hotel. I mean, it was 9 foot deep, and it was a beautiful pool, and it was a fenced-in backyard and really nice landscaping and everything. And during the summer months, our house became the place that everybody came over, and they called it Card Club. Everybody would come over, husbands and wives, and they would party at our house. And I liked that because I got to sit at the piano and play, and they would throw quarters in a little cup and say, hey, sing this song or play this song. And I try to learn it real quick and do it. And then we'd all go out to the pool at night because it was a lit area, and they would start drinking. And the more they drank, the more they would throw coins into the swimming pool. And I got to dive down and collect the coins and gather them. And then I got to keep all the coins. So they would, back in those days, throw 50-cent pieces in the deep end and say, okay, Greg, how fast can you get that one? So I would dive in and get it, and then I get to keep it. And that happened weekend after weekend during the summer months. This one particular night, I gathered all the money I could, and Dad finally said, hey, go around and tell everybody good night. It's time for you to go to bed. And I did, grab my towel, grab my money, and have my money wrapped up in the edge of the towel, and say good night to everybody and thank you. It was fairly late. Went to my bedroom, put my money out on the counter and started counting it and drying it off, and still in my swimsuit. And I remember immediately feeling a presence behind me. And I turned around, and there Dad was with 4 of his friends. And when I saw that, I immediately felt fear. I hadn't felt fear with my dad. I just felt dirty with Dad. But I felt an immediate fear. He let them lay me down. They pulled my swimming trunks off me, and they took turns at me in every possible way that was available. And I remember one man didn't even have the kindness to remove his jeans or his jean shorts. And the little metal tab in the jeans cut my legs up and down my thighs. Actually, I still have those scars today. And I'm just crude enough and real enough to show them to the world one day, but they are up and down my legs and my inner thighs, and it was bleeding. And they took turns to me. It seemed like it was an eternity. I don't think it was probably more than 20 to 30 minutes, but it seemed like it was a journey through hell that I will never forget. That happened several times that summer, and again the following summer. I remember when that was over, the smell, the filth, the pain, the blood that was there. But I remember why they were doing it to me, and as I started on my back, and then they roll me on my stomach, and then they would roll me back on my back. So it was every position possible. But I remember looking up at my dad. My dad never touched me that night, but he stood back and had such a look on his face that he was so proud that he got to offer this prize to his friends. And I never will forget the look on his face. And the devastating part about this was it was a chief of police in town. It was the state's attorney in town. It was the radio show, talk show host in town that was kind of a celebrity, and a worker that worked with dad, a coworker, and dad. And it was those four several times that summer. It was like after that, it was an open game that every time they came over to the pool, the weekends at our house, it not every time, but it would happen often with a few of those guys, if not them, and maybe one more. I can't even recall. Sometimes it would happen so fast and hard that I didn't realize, okay, who's doing what. And at that point, it didn't matter. I just became compliant. And I did the old limp dish rag. I would just lay there and literally do what they say and not try to respond to the pain, because I could not make a noise because the women were right down the hallway playing cards in the living room when their husbands were abusing me sexually in a horrendous way. There's other things that happened the following summer and the following year that I haven't told yet. I'm trying to write this out now to express in my next book, and possibly the book that'll be out by the time this is released, Overcoming the Darkness. That happened all the way up to almost my 17th birthday. And I can tell you story after story, but this isn't about my story. It's about how does that affect a teenager? How does that affect a young man? And that's it in a nutshell until it stopped at almost my 17th birthday when I finally fought back. And let me tell you, between me and you, not fighting back earlier messes me up, because the one day that I fought back, it stopped. And if I'd only fought back, so I think I play the game, and I know there's listeners that's listening today that go, oh man, if I just wasn't there, if I would have just said something, if I would just turned the other way, if I wouldn't have been out of my room that night or in a wrong place, and it would have never happened to me, I would have never been raped or hurt or whatever the abuse was. Those what ifs will kill you. It's what life did. And don't let that weigh too much, because I carried those what ifs with me around for a long time. But that's my life in a nutshell as a child.
Thank you for sharing that. And my heart breaks for you, and my I just feel on fire with the urge to help people that have gone through that situation and experience the things that you've experienced or anything similar to that. It deeply angers me that this happened to you. And
Rage and anger was a big part of me going through my teenage years.
Yes, I imagine so.
Essentially was the tipping point in the night that it ended. I had so much rage and anger in me because I was kissing my girlfriend goodnight, driving on the way home, knowing that within a few minutes I was going to walk into the house and Dad was going to be kissing me. Yeah. Hello. And then it was going to last, as long as it lasted each evening. And I couldn't take that anymore as almost 17-year-old teenager. And it happened night after night after night. And that really started to build. It was like I always use this illustration. If I have before, I've apologized. But it was literally like a 2-liter bottle of soda just being shaken every day. And I couldn't take it anymore. I was wanting somebody to turn that cap so I would just spew over everybody and let all these emotions out. But I literally held all of those emotions in until a few years ago.
Yes.
And where the damage happened.
Yes. Bless you for speaking out, for speaking up, for sharing with us today, and for writing everything down so you can reach more and more people. So will you Will you share with us what were a few ways that you finally dealt with this trauma and started on the path to breaking free from it?
Yeah, and that's a 3 hour answer to that question
I
too.
understand.
It to me, it was when my body started not being able to handle it anymore because I did stay quiet. I
Okay.
did try to tell somebody in college, and that went to hell in a handbasket very fast. And it's like, okay, I'm not going to tell anybody. But then when my heart went bad, I had open heart surgery, and
Yeah.
nobody knew why. Doctors couldn't figure out why I had a valve that just popped. That's not normal for someone in their 40s for that to happen.
Yeah.
And then everything around me, even though I was successful in my businesses and at work and at church, and everybody thought I was the happiest go lucky person in the world and say, hey, how are you? And I'd whistle and sing and help as many people as I could. Inside, I was different. So I was literally lying to everybody about how I was. Hey, how you doing? I'm fine. How are you? And there's a chapter in the book that'll be released by the time this comes out. I think it's chapter 3. I'm fine, and neither are you. Is the name of that chapter because I'm not fine. I wasn't fine, but I sure manipulated people to think I was fine.
Yes.
And it's not about what saved me, so we can get to the tools to be able to use. It
Yeah.
was not about the recovery so much of the abuse. It was about the discovery of what it made me into and what my destiny is supposed to be for the rest of my life. That was a tool that literally saved me. Instead of hiding it, I finally came to the realization almost by mistake because I let it out, but I really wasn't meaning to. That's another story.
Mm.
But understanding the discovery of I can help people now. I've been on a journey, and it's like I was carrying a
Mm.
concrete slab on my back all these years, and everybody has their own baggage. Ashley, you have your own baggage. I have my own concrete block. Some people's concrete's heavier and looks different and different shapes and things, but we're carrying this. And until I realized that, hey, wait, I'm not going to let this burden me anymore. I'm going to lift it off my back. I'm going to set it on the ground and I'm going to stand on top of it and let it allow me to be on a different level of observation, of
Yeah.
discovery, of destiny, of ways to look at things. Um, it's not what life did to me, but it's what life has done for me. So I took that junk and then I set it down and I got on top of it. And unfortunately, there are millions of people, and I hope millions of people watch this series on
Yes.
Avaya and pass it on. There's millions of people that are underweight of this concrete slab of emotions and pain and trauma that they need to just put it down and get on top of it and let it take you to a different higher dimension. I came up with a whole bunch of steps in this book, and it's all about the roadmap to hope. And the youth version, When Dark Clouds Come, is
Yes.
something I'm so excited about because every child, every teenager needs that book, When Dark Clouds Come, to let them understand how do I deal with this. I wish I'd had that book. I would have read that, devoured it, digested it, circled and journaled it. I would have done so much to say, how do I get through another day of this? How
Yeah.
do I handle this? And I came up with kind of a weird technique of understanding that we're all on a destination called life. And I need to understand and discover where I am right now. So, everybody that's listening, discover where you are you before you can put in your GPS system where you want to go. The GPS system of your emotions and your mentality needs to recognize where are you at right now, what's happened to you, how are you dealing with it, and don't lie to yourself. Be honest, be aware, and stop pretending you're somewhere else. And that was a biggie for me, Ashley. I finally said, oh man, I've been abused. I've been hurt. Uh, I don't want to hide it anymore. I need to deal with this. And once I know where I am at, I need to decide, where do I want to go?
Yes.
So, what do I want to be? Do I want to carry this stuff? I'm not going to be able to figure out how to get over this. I just need to learn how to deal with it. And that was a big issue. And then, real quickly, and I'm leaving out a lot of steps, but I need to declutter my emotional trunk in the vehicle that's going to take me there. And to be honestly open to open up the trunk of me and see where all that negativity is, where all those events that hurt me, where all those feelings of betrayal, because if not, Ashley, it affected every relationship I ever had in my life. I've never had a real relationship, even with my three boys, until just a few years ago, until I finally said, I'm not okay. I messed up. I'm hurting. And at that point, I could open up and let people in. Because honestly, Ashley, if you would have got close to me 5 years ago and tried to become my friend, I'd allow you in a little bit, but then I would put the wall up and go, okay, wait, every person that's entered beyond that wall has screwed me over. I'm not going to trust you. But after I started decluttering my trunk of my emotional baggage and pull it out and go, oh man, that's distrust. Oh wait, that's low self-esteem. That's hatred. And I would, start throwing those bags out of the truck. I became light enough to where, hey, wait, I'll give Ashley a chance. I'll give Andy a chance. I'll give Ike a chance to be part of my life without wondering and questioning their intent. And believe you me, after your heart has been smashed with abuse from somebody that ought to be the person protecting it, it was hard to trust again. So I had to literally go through and declutter all of my life. And then after that, I needed to decide, I needed to determine, where do I want to take this now? Where do I want to go? What do I want to become? I want to become the person that's bitter, angry, hateful, rude all the time? Or do I want to become the person that says, hey, wait, you got a bad day going? What can I do for you?
Yes.
And I think that's changed my life is literally trying to help as many people as I can for the rest of my life. And that makes a big difference to me right now. And then quickly just jump to the end of it, get back in my vehicle and drive and start. And whatever you're dealing with, that roadmap to hope, you'll never get to hope until you put your vehicle in drive and get there and start making it one step at a time. Is it easy? No. I still sleep in that recliner. I still only sleep an hour and a half, 2 hours at a time because I can't handle what my mind does when I'm asleep.
Yes.
So I have a long destiny to go, but at least I'm making progress towards that.
Yes.
So that's how I broke free, was looking at it, dealing with it, and taking it one step at a time and making a decision. I'm not going to let it control me anymore.
Yes, and that's so powerful in and of itself of I'm not going to let it control me anymore, because it's when you've experienced so much and when you're perhaps still experiencing it, for our students, for our viewers, when you're perhaps still experiencing it, that simple phrase holds so much weight in your life, in the human psyche. Just, it's powerful.
It's kind of like, and I'm using this car illustration and the GPS and all that in the books, but it's kind of like I was on cruise control, that
Yes.
I was speeding down and I automatically acted and behaved in automatic ways for all those years because that's what I wired myself to do to cope.
Yes.
And at first, it was a good coping mechanism. It kept me from jumping off the ledge, even though I tried several times to kill myself. It kept me, it was kind of like the Novocaine when you go into a dentist office. It
Yes.
deadened the emotions because I disassociated myself. But then when the emotions came back, it's like, wait, I don't have anything else to deaden it with. What can I do? And that's why we have abuse and drugs and alcohol and all these other things. And we self-medicate, and people go to pornography, people go to the spending money, people go to all this other stuff. And it was that cruise control. And the only way, if you've been in the car, you got cruise control, the only way to immediately get that to turn off is just pop the brake. Just pop on the brake and immediately goes, it's off.
Yes.
Now what? Slow back down, get it back in control. Don't hit that gas. But figure out, okay, now where am I at?
Yes.
Then go down these steps again. And there's about 5 more that's in there, but go down these steps again and try to get it where you are in charge. And so many times you have to do the old song, Jesus, you take the wheel. I just want to ride along. I can't do it anymore. He says, I know you can't, Greg. Let me do it for you. And that was a whole nother story. But yeah, stop allowing your emotions and your mentality to automatically react.
Yes.
Capture each of those thoughts and go, wait, why am I feeling this way? And then decide to react differently than what you've always had. And that saved me and helped me. And it caused that chain to break. So I became free. And it wasn't immediate release, but I started to control things again. It wasn't on automatic pilot. And it eventually, I feel better. I'm more emotionally sound. I allow people to come into my life now like that I've never had in my entire life, which is a huge blessing to me now.
Wonderful. And thank you for opening up to me and to Andy and to Ike with Avaya.
Anytime.
It's dearly going to help so many people. So we are running low on time. And I want to remind everyone that we have several buttons below this video that will take you to a free gift that Gregory has for you, as well as his books. Will you share a little bit more about these?
Yeah, I always try to come up with, anytime I do a workshop, and I do them all over the place. I do about 3 to 5 a week now virtually since COVID, but hopefully I'll get to be out back on the road again and do weekend, because I love meeting people face to face, even though we have to have a mask now.
Yes.
But I always create an ebook every workshop or speech or training I do. So I have created an ebook that I call, because this is what Andy wanted to call it, Overcoming the Darkness. And it's literally just these steps plus all the other steps that are in this. And I break each step down in a chapter. And I'll send that to you free. We'll either send it to Andy, or you can just send me your email, and I'll be glad to do that. And I also have all kinds of those that I send out on hope and holidays. And I forgot what we talked about last time, but it was stress and anxiety or something. It was the last one we did. One on that. But then the books are available. The Shattered by the Darkness is amazing me. I was in the top 10 on Amazon last week. I don't know who's buying these or not, but it's been out 2.5 years, 3 years. And it's still available. But Overcoming the Darkness is available. And then When the Dark Clouds Come is something that I am so excited about. I can't wait to get into the kids' world to share with them what I wish I'd known as a child. And anytime, people can call me literally right here on my cell phone. I give this out worldwide, 832-396-6525. Text me, call me, and I will respond immediately. And I will pick up the phone and talk to as many people as you need. And if anybody needs anything from me, just let me know and I will be there. And that goes for you, Ashley and Andy and Ike, for Avaya. Anytime, I'm in your corner to help you out. I'd love to do it.
Thank you. And we're in yours. So thank you you so much for sharing these resources with our viewers, with our students today. And thank you for offering them your time and attention
Sure.
if they should need it. Do you have any last thoughts? One bonus insight that you can leave our Avaya community with today?
Yeah, I think if I'll just leave you with the question, whoever's listening, if you don't do it now, when?
Avaya has changed my life.
Avaya has made me the woman I am today.
Avaya is my home.
Avaya is personal freedom.
Avaya is the reason